This is an LLD production.
For the past 3 seasons, I feel like I've been doing my best, and I feel like I've been giving you guys some quality programming over the last few years. But I've realized that a lot's going to have to change. Who am I, you ask? Well, of course, I am the host of this lovely program, the one, the only, the journalism student from Drexel University, and of course the creative services intern at Philadelphia Magazine, Mr. Armand Olia. There's no easy way I can put this, so I'm going to just go straight out. When I began the show on October the 6th, 2017, I felt I was giving you quality programming. In fact, the very first episode I've never officially put out since the original airing, because honestly, I don't think it was up to scruff, and we had really evolved, if anything. And then, I thought I was doing the show correctly. I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of people. People apparently seem to like the show. And then I decided to do something I haven't really done in a while. I decided to look back. And I decided to look back on every episode I've ever done. And I've realized that why a lot of people don't come back. I'm a little boring. And yeah, I'll agree with that. And I'll agree that over the last few episodes, I haven't been the best person I can be. Which is why today I want to start over with you guys. Today, I'm going to be doing something completely different. I'm going to be doing the show exactly the way I feel it should be done, and exactly the way I feel I can play to my strengths, as well as give you guys the quality programming you deserve. So guess what? With this episode onward, we're throwing out the rule book. That's why you hear my voice and not Imogen's first. Because, let's just say now there are no rules. There's just going to be loving, learning, debating, looking at different topics, and looking into, not anymore at the world we love, learning new things and debating the toughest issues the world has in store. But, I'm going to keep you in the dark for a moment while we do the intro. Imogen, if you'll please.
This is an LLD production.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Olia's Opinions, the new show in which we're going to use the content of love, learn, and debate, and we're going to apply it instead to the one constant of this show besides politics and controversial subjects. We're going to apply it to music. As you know, you already know who I am. I'm your host, Armand Olia. It is time to enter the new school of thought, and we do have a lot to get to in this episode. Today, I'll be reviewing a documentary done by a friend of mine named Kaitlynn Stein. The documentary is Homeless Chronicles. It made its premiere on June 1st, actually a few days ago, at the Drexel University Night of the Arts. It is now on Amazon Prime, which I really do recommend you see. I promise I'll get more into that. And then we're going to talk about South African, we're going to talk about a little bit of era of South Africa called apartheid, and a little bit of the protest music that came about from that era, as well as a debate of where exactly should the line be drawn in terms of protest music, about where is it making a point, and then when is it going overboard, and when's it going not enough. But before we begin, I have a quick update about Season 4. We will officially no longer be a part of iTunes after 2020. That is the new headline coming out of the WWDC conference in San Jose. We will no longer be part of iTunes. We will be officially part of the newly minted Apple Podcasts. So yeah, this is actually very big news. I'm very happy about that we're actually going to be able to go specifically anyway on a platform that isn't really competing with any major stars, because God knows a lot of the major stars get their own podcast and their own airtime. I'm talking about you, Chris Jericho, and I would love to get a little bit of the piece of the pie. So yeah, Apple Podcasts, that's great. I'm excited. Trust me, Season 4 is going to be epic. And actually, there isn't really much more news, and I think I'm just talking for the sake of talking now, so I'd like to get started with the review. So, Homeless Chronicles. I wish I could have been at the premiere on June 1st. However, I'm very lucky in the fact that Kaitlynn Stein, the documentarian and actually the subject of this film, was happy enough to lend me a copy so I could at least watch it and do review. And I'd like to say I know Kaitlynn pretty well. We've been working together now for the past at least 2.5 years, if not more or less. I mean, I do know her, I think, pretty well. At least I know her well enough to know that we do have a lot in common. We both love to talk about the world around us. We both love to tell stories. We both are not afraid to speak our minds and to speak our souls. But I'll tell you what. I saw the documentary, and I've realized since then that what I thought I knew about Kaitlynn, I really don't, because there are facets about her life that really are a testament to not only her strength, but the strength of her family, of her mother, especially, and it really goes to show how terrible of a problem the homelessness situation is in the United States. Over 400,000 people in the United States are homeless. A lot of them are not living in shelters, which is just, it boggles my mind how America apparently is the greatest economy in the world through GDP, and yet we still are not able to take care of everybody. It's honestly baffling. But you know what? The film itself is great. I think the only complaint I really have is that, sometimes Kaitlynn used a little too much music, and it was a bit manipulative at times, a little bit too much so. If she kept the music down a little bit, I think it would have been absolutely outstanding. But nevertheless, the documentary itself is great. I personally liked it, and I think that, it really touched upon a lot of issues that, you're all going to be hearing about, if not through this documentary, then definitely if you just even look through a newspaper or on the news. It's really something that needs to be seen in order to be believed, and I really, really believe that, it's great. I love it. It's one of a kind. This is definitely her calling card, and if you're listening to this, Kaitlynn, well done. I'm so sorry I couldn't be at the premiere with you. Congratulations, and again, the full review is on www.lovelerndebate.com. You can click on the Love tab. You'll see it there. You can put any thoughts. Actually, go if you have a Prime account, go watch the film. Put any thoughts you have on the film in the comments section. I would greatly appreciate that. And actually, do something even better yet. Go to all of our content on lovelerndebate.com. Hit us up on the Twitter at lovelerndebate. Hit us up on Facebook at lovelerndebate, and talk to me. I will personally answer all of your messages, and just tell me what you think. I really, really want to hear from you on this. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back after this single. This is Saltwater by a recurring guest of ours, Sophie Curran, and I'll tell you what. I've heard a lot of her songs, and we've had a few of her songs on this. This is just, I think it's miles and miles ahead of things she's done in the past. And if you watch the music video on her Facebook page, it's really something really, really cool. I hope you guys like this. We'll be back into this once again. Sophie Curran with Saltwater.
Swim me out to safety, away from how it may be. I like how you contain me. We move through waves so gently, drowning from too weak to swim. Like someone pushes me in, a captive always drifting. Why can't the air touch my skin? I measure every thought and feel. It's not the right one. And further from the shore I steer, lost in the ocean. I measure every thought and feel. It's not the right one. And further from the shore I steer, lost in the ocean. Saltwater takes me there. Some days I'm swimming, no matter the distance to see if you're swimming upstream. Saltwater, I'll drown in you to keep on living. go, then I'll go anywhere we could go. Maybe I'll let myself go, scared to let myself go. Tried to let myself go, I could be myself, you know. If you go, then I'll go anywhere we could go.
Thank you, Sophie, again for that awesome rendition of Saltwater. Of course, an original single. You guys heard it. I think it's really good, and it's also a bit nostalgic. The reviews for it have been great. I think it's great. So if you like it, go to iTunes and Spotify and go pick up a copy of this Sophie Curran's Saltwater. Okay, so let's move on. About 3 years ago, on a date, actually, yesterday would have been the anniversary, I officially got my International Baccalaureate diploma from Hong Kong Academy. Shout out to HKA. And part of how I got it was through something called the extended essay. And my extended essay topic was recommended to me by a woman named Dr. Stella Ireland, who was my theater teacher at the time. And, I almost forgot to tell you guys what the extended essay is. The extended essay is essentially the equivalent of a college mini-thesis, written about a specific topic studied in the International Baccalaureate by that person. I studied theater, which is why Dr. Ireland was my mentor. And, you spend a year and a half researching a topic that you don't really know about, and you create a report in the end talking about that topic. It's essentially a research paper. And that counts actually a big deal towards your getting a diploma or not. So when I was searching around for a topic, let's just say I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. I originally wanted to talk about the comic book V for Vendetta and how it was how it influenced a lot of protests. But honestly, it was a little bit too vague. So when I talked to Dr. Ireland, she recommended I take a look at a documentary called A Mandala, A Revolution in Four-Part Harmony. It was released around 2005, and it's essentially about how artists use music to combat apartheid. Now, for those of you who don't know what apartheid is, it was a form of racial discrimination in South Africa from the early to late 1940s to 1994, when Nelson Mandela became the president of South Africa. Very heavy-duty racial discrimination, a lot of deaths, a lot of destruction. You can see the damage in South Africa to this very day. But the documentary captured me, and I really enjoyed it. So I talked to Dr. Ireland, and I said, listen, I would love to do that, but I have to do it from a theater standpoint. But she recommended to me, because I also love music as well, that I also look at it from the musical standpoint. So a combination of music and theater, which has never done an extended essay, but I decided to go with it. So I researched it for about a year and a half, and it stuck with me, and it still sticks with me because I'm still thinking about it. And I decided, why not we talk about it on this podcast today. So this documentary talks about the evolving form of South African protest music, and it actually interviews a lot of the artists, including Hugh Masekela, Miriam Makeba, and Abdullah Ibrahim. And all three of these individuals are just very talented at what they do. Obviously, because they're professional singers and they're legends in South African popular cultural music. But they really were able to show how different tricks and tips such as irony and sarcasm, also singing the songs in a language that was not Afrikaans or English, really did help, because if you sing anything in a pleasant way, it sounds pleasant, even if the lyrics themselves are a little bit more violent or also a little bit sarcastic. I'll give you a really good example. In the actual song that we're talking about, a song called Meadowland. So the melody's like da 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 da, that type of thing. It's very pleasant. You have to it gets you to dance a little bit. But according to some of the people who were singing it, the lyrics were translated like, "We will shoot you, we will kill you. Be careful what you say, and you're gonna die slowly." I'm not even kidding. That's literally a lyric quoted in the actual song. And then of course, you hear lyrics such as, We're moving night and day to go to Meadowlands. We love Meadowlands. And of course, it does sound very positive. The lyrics themselves, and of course, South African government, because they didn't know any better, and a lot of them were massive racists. They didn't really understand. They thought it was a very positive song, but in reality, it's a lot of irony and sarcasm that goes into that. And it was just that technique that they were able to use just to make sure those protest songs are kept under the radar, when a little bit more outright protesting got a lot of people killed, got a lot of people arrested. Nelson Mandela, of course, being one of them. And don't worry, he does play a part in the story as we go along. Of course, we have the massacres at Sharpeville and Soweto. Those, of course, very well documented in history. And, of course, two massive reminders of how brutal apartheid was and how to boycott, and the reason why to boycott South African goods at the time. But the music also, I think, would go a little deeper and also became much more a part of the lexicon. And also it evolved. Like, it's not really like they did the same thing over and over again, because like any type of music, if you do the same thing over and over again, it gets boring. You have to let it evolve. You have to let it grow with the people. So I'll give you an example. In the 1980s, South Africa became a little bit more violent, a little bit more militaristic. It was a combat of black versus white, racial relations at an all-time low. So the dances became a little bit more tribal. Of course, the Toy Toy coming in to play, which is a bit more of a war dance and a little bit more aggressive. And they were really intentionally used to scare the hell out of the white cops. And of course, that worked. It also got a little violent, but at the same time, it did work, because within another 15 years, they were able to end apartheid with Nelson Mandela's election. Of course, it's a combination of world politics and through music, because believe it or not, it was also an apartheid freedom song that was able to get Mandela out of prison, which was actually quite amazing. Like how some of the most historic moments were really influenced by music. 27 years in prison, and it was all ended pretty much not just by Mandela's own peace and also the way he brought people together, but also through song, which is just, it's absolutely perfect. So, this is just one of a series of examples of, apartheid. It's just one of those examples of how music can really create not only a political opening, but also how it can be used to make a political point. We're going to be coming back after the break talking about a few more of these. But before we do, go to lovelanddebate.com, go to the debate go to the learn section. Go to the learn section, go through, talk about it, and read the article there. Put your thoughts in the comments section. What do you think of this? Go watch the documentary. Obviously, you should look for a copy. It's great. I personally love it. I think it's great. So when we come back after this song by Cole Rowland, I'm actually going to go a little bit into a debate that's really more connected to this topic about whether or not where the line should be drawn in terms of protest music, and also what constitutes too little, what constitutes too much. So we'll be back after this. Ladies and gentlemen, Cole Rowland.
I'm so caught up in my emotions, and I don't even care. I hide behind my makeup, so you can't tell I'm scared. I may be lost more than ever, but I'm going my own way. I'm doing my best to keep on fighting through all of my mistakes. I know I've been so bad, but my thoughts tell me I'm wrong. Run around time in circles.
And now, some final thoughts. A debate, and I mean a true one, to start at the end of this program. Familiar words, huh? So, two elements of life and culture that seem to have recurring roles on this podcast, as well as my life, are politics and music. However, this has been absolutely no accident. I personally love both and will most likely continue to do so for the foreseeable future. These two worlds could not be any more different from each other. One is more drab and gray, focusing on following the rules, a lack of creativity and procedure. The other is, of course, more vibrant, filled with all the colors of the world and then some, with vibrancy and a complete show of creativity and form. The ultimate way of creating order from chaos. However, despite these two worlds being so similar, they have one thing in common. They both require a firm finger on the pulse of the people to do it effectively. And as I talked about with apartheid protest music, the tool of music can be used effectively to tackle major political issues, and there have been artists who have used it very much effectively. For example, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On album that combated the Vietnam War and tried to encourage peace, and then, of course, Eminem's cipher called The Storm at the BET Hip Hop Awards in 2017, bashing the President of the United States. His name will not be ever said on the show again because, I'll be honest, the mere mention of that name wants me to, build a wall around the White House. Anyway, for any one of those examples, you also have like a Sinead O'Connor ripping a picture of Pope John Paul II singing a modified rendition of Bob Marley's War on SNL. And in another example of SNL's political nature, how about Rage Against the Machine's one and only musical guest spot on the show, protesting the host for that night, Stephen Forbes, who was not only a billionaire and the creator of Forbes magazine and its namesake, but at the time in 1996, he was a candidate for president for the Republicans. So the band themselves were supposed to perform two songs, including Bulls on Parade, which they actually did. And that's a protest song against capitalism. And that can be a bit obvious because of the bull statues outside Wall Street. However, they were not allowed to perform because, well, you know what, I'll get to that. I promise I will get to that. But let's just say because of what happened, they have been banned from SNL officially by Lorne Michaels and will probably never perform there again. As you can see, taking a political stance with music can go either way. However, the key question, and I cannot stress this enough, it's a key question. Not many people ask this, but I'm going to ask this because I'm the host of this show. I will ask any damn question I please. Where exactly is the limit with political expression in music? Where do you find that balance between not making a point, making the point, and completely overshooting it? Well, let's look at those examples that I just gave and see where exactly they worked or didn't work. So let's start with what's going on. So Marvin Gaye wrote this because of his brother Frankie, who was actually a soldier in the U.S. military during the Vietnam War. And he really detested what America was doing, as a lot of people did during that time. And because of that, he wrote and released this album. Originally, it wasn't supposed to be released. Motown completely hated it. However, he essentially said, if you don't release this album, I'll never record another piece of music again. And because he's their highest selling artist, they put it out. And of course, the album is a complete success, not just because of its messages, but also because the music itself is very beautiful and it's very well written. And I love putting it on and just relaxing. It was great. It was a concept album, early 1970s, and it was also very contradictory to the music being played on that time. Remember, this was disco, the era of disco, and what's going on is absolutely not disco. It was carefully constructed and clearly made a point in its lyrics, but it was also the music and the harmony of all that was so pleasurable. People could enjoy the music not only on a protest front, but also because it was completely masterful and it was very fun to listen to. The same reasons, by the way, for all the protest music during apartheid. And if you want to take a look at that, like I said, loveanddebate.com, go to the Learn tab. You'll understand what I mean from there. Now let's go to Eminem. And Eminem, I'll just tell you what, is the master of political protest in music. And I'm going to explain why. Because he's no stranger, and he at least understands from starting out in the rap battle world how much is too much when he insults someone and how much he should hold back or how much he should go through. So his cipher, which was called The Storm, he decided to take the opposite approach with Marvin Gaye and just be completely blatant. Because with Donald Trump, you sort of have to be blatant. You can't just use illusions. You have to go right to the point because Trump is so decisive. So Eminem used the full truth and didn't pull any punches. So he compared, for example, Donald Trump to the Thing from the Fantastic Four and painted Trump as everything he has proven himself to be over the last 3 years and then some. Of course, being disloyal, a liar, a coward, homophobe, misogynist, xenophobe. Let's see, what else? Oh, yeah. Hypocrite, traitor, turncoat, evil, American Hitler. That's all I'm going to say. American Hitler. And I'm sorry to anyone who was offended by that, but I genuinely believe that. So if you don't like it, don't listen to this show. Excuse me. I had a bit of a moment there. Anyway, he was able to make those points and make it controversial, not to be mentioned, but not too controversial to detract his fans away. And he also didn't go over the top. I mean, surprisingly for Eminem, he didn't go over the top. He just made a point, and he was able to get right down to it. So that's why it worked. With both of them, with Gaye and Eminem, they both understood their platform, who the intended audience was, how much ammunition to use, in order to make their point. They both understood that going too far would cause people to come after them rather than focusing on the music. However, if they didn't go far enough, the audience would have completely missed the point. And as a result, they created two magnificent pieces of protest art that not only got the message out, but also garnered critical acclaim for the sheer complexity and dynamics as pieces of music. Now I want to take a look at Rage Against the Machine and Sinead O'Connor. Both of them were unable to get their messages out effectively, each for a different reason. Let's start with Sinead. When Sinead O'Connor did a rendition of War by Bob Marley, she began singing about child abuse completely out of context. And keep in mind, Bob Marley did not write War as a protest song against child abuse. So she ended up taking some of the lyrics and modifying them. And as a result, it caught a lot of people off guard, especially, and I must add especially, when she ripped up a picture of the Pope on live television and screamed out, "Fight the real enemy." Now, knowing what we do know now, that was actually a good move, and that would have been a very effective protest in 2019. But in 1993, when very few people knew the truth about the Catholic Church, well, let's just say it didn't go so well and ended up ruining her career because she didn't establish the right context. No one understood why she did it. Now let's go to Rage Against the Machine. They had all the context in the world. Not everyone liked Stephen Forbes, and, it was a more anti-authority time back then. Stephen Forbes as president in 96 would have probably been the same thing as Trump right now, except for the racism. But in any case, Rage Against the Machine, well known as an anti-capitalist band. They understood the context. They knew they were guests on the SNL episode where Stephen Forbes was the host. And understanding that, Rage Against the Machine, again, it's notoriously anti-capitalist. They were going to make a statement no matter what. And the execution, though, is what got them in trouble. Because when they were doing Bulls on Parade, if you look at the amplifiers, you notice there's nothing on them. But when they were about to do the second song, they took to taking their American flags, hanging them upside down, and putting them on the amplifiers. Now, for those of you who don't know what that act means, I'm going to explain very quickly. When you hang any flag upside down, but especially the American flag, it is a symbol of distress. In other words, it's saying, I can't handle this. We are now in a national emergency. Now, Rage Against the Machine makes sense for them to do that, but the fact is they were on live television and the SNL didn't want that to happen, so they actually ripped the flags down and forced them off the premises. So, yeah, the flags got them kicked off the show because they went over the top in their execution. Obviously, it's Rage Against the Machine. I wouldn't expect them to do anything less, but at the same time, they went over the line, and that ended up costing them big time and ended up garnering more controversy than, awareness towards the issue. So why did those two fail where Eminem and Marvin Gaye succeeded? Well, first of all, Marvin Gaye and Eminem, they knew when to be over the top and when to be subtle. And they also understood a thing or two about proper context. Like I said, O'Connor back in 1992, that issue wasn't even a thing yet. That wouldn't be an issue for another 10 years and ended up killing her career pretty much. And then Rage Against the Machine, that wasn't out of context, but the symbolism was just so harsh and was too much. If they had toned it down and they done the same thing, except maybe do a comment against Stephen Forbes at the end, I think that would have proven a bit more of a point, considering, Stephen Forbes is Stephen Forbes, and if anyone... not going to go into that. Anyway, where is the line drawn? I don't know, personally. However, based on the examples I gave and others you can look up, I can say personally, I feel the line is drawn where the point is made clear but not too clear and the subject is put into context within the minds of the people. There is no overkill and the point is sufficiently made that in the end a good protest song can work. For those musicians who are listening right now, I hope you've at least listened to this and at least keep this in your mind. And I'm going to cheer for you when you make your protest songs and your music, being activists. That's what we live for. We live not only to tell stories, but to make music and to help people. So here are the many causes and the many songs ahead. I cheer you on all the way. What do you guys think of this? Do you think that I'm right? Do you think I'm terribly wrong? Do you think that I'm a complete liberal monster who knows nothing about music and just is talking out of his rear end? Well, either way, go to www.loveandDebate.com, click on the debate section, respond, please, questions, comments, everything. Go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Love and Debate. Follow us on our social media. Don't forget to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to us on Spotify, give us a thumbs up on SoundCloud, everything. Continue to support the show. Give us a 5-star rating if you can on Facebook or Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to support us by buying our shirts, buying our merchandise on Spreadshirt. We have a new Abortion His and Hers shirt about giving women the choice. And if you really agree with me on this, I really recommend you buy it. It's a men and women shirt I designed too. I really think you're going to like that. Anyway, that's going to be our show for this week. I might be out for a bit. We'll see. But I want to thank Omila Rejani for graphics and show soundtrack, Imogen Aiken for her voice, and of course to Sophie Korn and to Cole Holland for amazing music. That's it for this episode. I'll see you guys soon. Keep loving, keep learning, keep debating, and I'll see you next time on Olia's Opinions. Goodbye.
This has been an LLD production, recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.